Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. Listening to the panel discussions and the lectures, I was thinking, I remembered the moment when I was 16 years old, and my parents came to me and asked, Daan, what do you want to do? Yeah? What kind of job? What kind of profession? And I told them very excitingly, I want to do something with art and science, and I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to travel, and I want to have my own company. And then everybody got really worried and a bit confused. So for 2 weeks, they did like tests, like with tutors and students and psychological tests. And after 2 weeks, the results came in, and I will never forget that moment. And the result was, Daan, what you want does not exist. And so I was really depressed for one day, 16 years old, and the world says no to you. So I remember that day because it was a day of fear. The world sort of rejects you. But then I also remember the second day when I woke up the next morning, and I woke up and I'm like, okay, well, whatever, then I'll just do it myself. And it was the moment of discovery and the moment of curiosity. And I think these sort of two moments define me more than ever. And if I zoom out in the world of today, maybe we are in a similar situation. We rather hold on to what we know, although we know it's not so good, than that we invest in something new, which is most likely better, but has a certain risk. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we move away from being stuck? It's technology, it's design, but most importantly, it's about imagination. And I want to show you some examples in which we experimented with that, in which we built it, which had their own success. Smog-free towers, which sucked up polluted air, cleaned it to make clean air parks in heavily polluted cities like Beijing and Delhi. Bicycle paths which charge at daytime and glow at night, so we don't need street lights which are polluting and use a lot of electricity. But before we dive into that, I thought it would be interesting to start with a situation when it goes wrong. Because that's also very important, and we don't really talk about it that much. This relationship between people and technology is very fragile, and sometimes it goes wrong. This is an example. This is 5 years ago in Uzbekistan. People who encounter the escalator for the first time in their life. And it goes wrong. So here you see, we have innovation, we have technology, but sometimes we have to get used to it. We're a bit scared of it. We push a button and it stops. All the effort for nothing. So in this new world, we have to get used to change. And I like this a lot. Then a boss comes, like a mayor or a CEO or a leader. And this is a good example of a good leader. Watch his little feet on the right. He waits a little bit, and then he puts it on. That's exactly what I would do. But then again, in this transition we are in, it's not that difficult. What we have to learn is let go. Just let go. But apparently we find that very difficult. By the way, I have 2 hours footage of this. We can just show this stuff, and you can Google the projects, whatever. So, okay, so why am I showing you this? And I've been watching this video so many times because this is you, This is me, this is us. We are in this transition from old to new, from fossil to green, but somehow we're a bit stuck, somehow we're a bit idle. And I find that fascinating in a way, funny but also fascinating. So my country, the Netherlands, where I'm from, is in a similar state of being. So on the left you have the sea, on the right you have Amsterdam, Rotterdam, my own hometown. And this is very interesting. We live below sea level. So without technology, without this famous dike that you see here, we would literally die. We would drown and have a horrible death, yes? So we live with nature, we fight with nature more than 1,000 years. And my Chinese friends, when they see this, they're like, are you crazy? Just move to Germany, move to higher ground. Just get out of there, it's not safe. And they were like, no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna stay. And we're going to use design and technology and management and government to create our own home. And I find that somehow fascinating, that in a way it is a notion of a smart city, of a landscape, very, very old. But somehow we forget, even the Dutch. And that's why we made waterlicht, what you see here. A combination of LEDs and lenses which shows how high the water level would be if we stop. If we take life for granted, if we don't care, if we say, oh, somebody else will come and do it for us. And we started to flood these public spaces all around the world. A short movie. Can we do sound up a bit?
Best wel spooky. Spacey. Ja.
Wat ik het gevoel dat ik erbij krijg is een beetje onder water. Dat je onder een laag zit.
Ja, best wel mooi, vind ik.
With the waves above us. And it's magnificent.
Ik weet natuurlijk dat we beneden zeeniveau zitten, maar ja, zoals je het zegt, zou het niet zo fijn zijn als ik dit opeens over me heen ga voelen, nee.
$60,000 people in one evening here at Museum Square in Amsterdam. And the people who came, I was walking around there and I was listening to their stories. And some were a bit scared, because they experienced the flood in 1953. We had a huge flood, many people died. But most of the people were excited. Should we make floating cities, or can we generate energy from the changing in tide? So I think the role of art, and I think the role of design, and I think a role of Design Week Melbourne in a way, is to create experiences collectively, where we're not afraid of this future, but curious. That is the power of physically bringing people together. And there's a sort of joy and mesmerizing in it. What fascinates me in a project like this is that it triggers the notion of wonder. I look at the people, I don't look at the artwork, although the rain and the wind makes it always changing. You sort of inspire people to think ahead. But what is also interesting for me is when you give people space, like physical space, public space, but also mental space to be more curious, weird stuff starts to happen. This was in Toronto a couple of weeks ago where we did waterlicht. People started, these weird Canadians started to dress up as mermaids, like, how did she get there? Like, it was like, so things happen that are out of your control as a designer, and maybe that's a good thing. So we always talk about government, government should do this and that, sure, but there's an incredible power in how people engage their environment. There's an incredible power how they personalize it, how they customize it, up to like Daft Punk coming there in secret to record its new video clip. These are the little gifts that you get when you do things in public space. And you should look at them, you should cherish them, and learn from them. So back to this famous afsluitdijk. This is very important. This is our Eiffel Tower. This is our Chinese wall. This is our, what's holy in Melbourne, in Australia? Sorry? Voila, okay, fair enough. So, this is built by hand in 1932, rock by rock. Without it, we would die. And what was interesting, because of the rising sea level, it was a need a renovation. And the Ministry of Infrastructure dedicated a budget of €832 million to make it future-proof. But in all these meetings that they had with the municipalities and the different stakeholders and the citizens, they realized this is not just a machine protecting us. It's our culture. It's our identity. Nobody does that. And so the minister invited me, can you make something to highlight the iconic value of this beautiful Zen line in the middle of the water? And so what we started to do was, in a way, start to look at what is already there. It's very interesting when you design something. We didn't want to add more stuff, but we wanted to highlight what was already there. This is already there. 60 floodgates. So they open and close the walls of water to let the water in and out. If they fail, we drown. Designed by Daan Roosegaarde, the grandfather of Rem Koolhaas, long time ago. And as you can see, they look like temples. They're beautiful. But the first time we saw them, they're at the beginning, at the end of this 32 kilometers, they looked horrible. They look like the inside of a smoker's lung. It's like, ugh, like all rotten, and the concrete is like ugh, very disgusting. So we went to the ministry and said, let's raise the funds to restore them again, because they are true monuments. And at the same time, we didn't want to just talk about history. We want to talk about future. Light, energy, poetry, all these kind of things. But then, after our minister meeting and the excitement of getting the project, we got a second meeting with the civil servants. And they were a bit more practical. And they said to me, Daan, we love all your projects and technology, etc., great, but no maintenance. We're like, what? Yeah, like, we can't do maintenance there, because then we have to shut down the road, and you know, it's very complicated, etc. It has to last for 50, 100 years. So no technology, because it's going to break down because of the salt and the rain. So we were sitting back in our car after that second meeting, and we're like, shit, like, what should we do? All our tools kits has become useless. So then we went back to the site, and we realized, of course, there's already light present on this highway, which is the light of the... I'm not being rhetorical. Yes, the cars. Very good. So inspired by the wing of a butterfly, we started to imagine the notion of light, the notion of the headlights of the car. We looked at the reflection of the wing of a butterfly. And this is not a toxic paint or something. It's reflection on a microscopical level. And that's why the color of a butterfly always remains vivid. So we took these blueprints, the famous sketch of the architect, dragged our Minister of Infrastructure, Melanie Schultz, you see here, into the story. This is how we convince politicians. We don't sell, we tell. We make prototypes. We sort of drag them into it, mimicking the headlights of the car, the headlamps, and 3 years later, renovated them. 324 people were working on it, daytime, nighttime. So you can go there every night, preferably with your electrical car or your bicycle, and experience how an energy-neutral landscape looks like. So this is the light of your phone. These are the micro-prismas that we developed, reflectors. No battery, no cable, no wires, no solar panel, no maintenance. You know, why do we have streetlights burning the whole night when nobody's there? That's really stupid, and it's really bad for animals and people as well. And so how can we use what is already there and sort of upgrade, upcycle it? Also an advantage of a project like this is there's only light when the people are there. And that sounds a bit simple, but light pollution is becoming a huge problem in a lot of cities. People sleep very badly, all these animals get distorted in their rhythms. So just using the headlights of the car, there's only light when the car is there, and when nobody's there, there's no light. So it's sort of, you get these little gifts, as you're designing these sort of seemingly simple yet very complicated projects. Highlighting the sketch of the architect, and at the same time, showing a new way of energy-neutral lighting. This is how I like to see the future. We started to realize that this famous dike was a place of innovation, of experiment. And I started to do my homework. For this project, we started to launch these energy harvesting kites that you see here. So this was an idea of Wubbo Ockels, one of our first Dutch astronauts, who went to space, saw our planet Earth from far away and said, we're really doing it wrong when he came back to Earth, and we should sort of design in a different way. We should treat our planet Earth in a different way. We're playing poker with this very fragile planet, and we should change that. And I was doing my homework in the archive of the Ministry of Infrastructure, and I was watching this DVD I don't know if you know what a DVD is? It's like this thing which makes a lot of noise. It's really weird. Anyway, I was looking at a DVD and I saw this movie of Wubbo Ockels where he explained his idea of these energy harvesting kites, which would fly high up in the sky, searching for the optimal wind, connected with the ground via a cable. And because of the push and the pull, connected to a dynamo on the ground, like a bicycle generates light, it would generate energy. The only problem is, he died in 2013, lung cancer. He never got a chance to realize it. And in that DVD, he was explaining how cool would it be to have that project on that famous dike as a platform for innovation, for expression. And I was sitting in this cold archive, I'm like, that's what we're going to do. We're going to take his dream, we're going to put some money, love, time, energy, we're going to contact his widow, and we're going to make his dream come true. And that's what we did 2 years later. So it works in a way, so the kite is sort of floating high up in the sky, searching for the wind, connected with the ground via a cable. And because the cable became so important, we started to make it light emitting, teaming up with Corning to make one of the strongest flexible glass fibers in the world. So this is the ground station, pushing and pulling, generating energy. We can do sound up a bit, please. We were streaming video from the skies. You know, energy is everywhere. All we have to do is sort of harvest it. Each kite can produce 20 to 100 kilowatts per hour. That's enough for 200, 150 households. I mean, that's a lot. And it was really beautiful to sort of show that green energy is everywhere, right? And that you don't need this huge sort of infrastructure windmill, but it can be something light, something flexible, something smart. This is the widow of Wubbo Ockels, of the astronaut, Joost Ockels. So she came to the opening. She's sort of holding on to him, you see? She was really excited, yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I think that's also interesting. We always talk about innovation, about future and technology. That's only partly true. There's so much hidden in drawers with dust on top of it. And maybe it's our job to be the activator, you know, to look at it, to shake it up, spend some love, time, and energy, and make it happen. And this project is traveling now around the world to make sort of communities self-sufficient and at the same time beautiful. Or here, I'm a night diver in tropical Asia. It took me a while, many years, to figure out what sort of works for me, because as a true designer, I'm workaholic, so I don't do golf or hockey, or that stuff doesn't work. And I finally figured something out that works for me, which is diving. I'm in a world that I cannot control, out of my hands. I have to surrender. I have to control my breathing, otherwise I scare everything away. I have to, let go. And something magical happens when you put yourself in the dark water and you go down 10, 15 meters deep, and your whole brain and body is saying, get out of here, you know, it's scary. And after 1 minute, it's like, okay, it's okay, let go. And you move your hand through the water, and suddenly there is light. And these are microorganisms, biological sort of algae, light emitting, 700 million-year-old microorganisms which are light emitting. And nobody really knows why. Some say it's like a side effect of evolution, others say it's to sort of scare enemies away, others say it's like a communication between each other. To be honest, I don't really care why. But I just became fascinated. What can we learn from nature to make our cities more future-proof, more human again? So for 2 years, we've been sort of trying to figure out what they like. Because they live in nature only for 1 or 2 days. Maybe you've seen it somewhere. And we wanted to make it more light emitting and last for 2 years. The problem with these little creatures, these one-cell organisms, is they are true divas. like in the worst kind of way. So like, if it's like 1 degree up, like 22 degrees, they're like, no, we're not doing anything today. We're sort of chilling. And if it's 1 degree too low, like 20 degrees, they're also not doing anything. So you have to sort of find the perfect temperature, the perfect food, the perfect humidity, because if sort of somehow the colony decides to not do something, it sort of copies that behavior to other colonies, and they're also not doing anything. So they're divas and sort of lazy at the same time. It was horrible. We're like, please work. So 2 years testing, tweaking, finding out the right temperature, finding out vitamin B12 and some kind of secret ingredient to make the most light-emitting algae in the world. And we started to flood these sort of dark spaces on this famous dike. So the space is dark, you enter it, and when you touch them, they wake up, and they give light. This is pure nature, not genetically modified. You can drink this. Okay, maybe you get a little bit of diarrhea, but swa. That's a small price. I did it. We had these cocktails. It was pretty cool. What? Small price to pay, no? And what is interesting in a way, it's hard to explain in a way for me, but it's so humbling to sort of, play with them and work with them. It's so old, 700 million year old, but at the same time it's future. And as this sort of started as an art installation, as an experience, to show the beauty of nature, to show what we can learn from nature, at the same time we're now developing it further as streetlights, putting a sort of transparent thermo can, and because of the vibration of the cars, they move. So why can't we, make streetlights which are like this? Why can't we bring nature back into our city and to celebrate it? Or here, these glow-in-the-dark little stars that you had on the ceiling? Yes? When you were a boy or girl? Long, long time ago. I've been staring at them way too long. When I was a 5-year-old, I think that would explain a lot to what I'm doing now. But anyway, so 5 years ago, I realized, again, why does light need electricity? Why? So we went back to the laboratory with the experts, trying to make the most durable, most light-emitting, glow-in-the-dark material out there. Because the stuff that you can buy online now works for half an hour, has poisonous radion. Not good. We all licked on it. Yeah, that's not good. Not good. Not good. Anyway, at the same time, while we were sort of tweaking and tuning with the material experts, we got a request from these guys, the Gogh Foundation, a famous Dutch painter. And they came to me and asked, as a client, can you make something to celebrate his 125th anniversary? And they didn't want to place him in a museum with a sign, please do not touch. But they wanted something different, something activated. Very open briefing. So what we did is that we took that question and we took that material research and started to, sort of connect it. This is creative process, yeah. This is what we did for 10 months. And I'm so happy you allow me to keep on doing this for 30 minutes, yeah. You're so generous, yeah. No, and this is what we made later on. A bicycle path in the area where Van Gogh lived and worked. So I tracked his footsteps, and I find this beautiful, very small 1 kilometer bicycle path in the area where he lived in 1883. And I said, that's where we're going to upgrade or sort of take his heritage. So it charges at daytime via the sun and glows at night between 6 to 8 hours. And you can go there every night for free, no ticket needed. It's still out there.
just like we're laying on a starry night.
These are very intense collaborations with infrastructure world. You saw it in the title, Heijmans, one of the largest infrastructure companies in the Netherlands, 8,000 people. And as you may know, infrastructure companies are the most no-nonsense industry which is out there. Eh? Like the car can be sexy, glamorous, billions of research and development every year, 3 new models. We find that very normal. But somehow the road should be cheap, maintenance-free, nobody cares. And so it was very funny because before we built this, I was sharing my love for infrastructure highways. But what I didn't know was that the CEO of that big infrastructure company was in the room with his children, just by accident. And he saw this sort of ideas that I had in my brain. And before we realized this project, he got excited about that. So he called the next day to my studio and asked the very non-artistic business question, which is, how much? Yeah, exactly. How much? Well, to be honest, I had no idea at that time. But what I realized is, and it was mentioned in the panel discussion as well, I want to work with the experts. I want to invest in process, not in product. I don't know how to build a highway. I don't want to know. So for 3 years, my team of designers and engineers and their team started to work together. And this was sort of the result of these kind of projects. So it's very important to realize this is not just sort of beautifying or decorating. These are also project entrepreneurial driven. Eh? The city wanted to have tourism at night. Well, this is good because you only can see it at night. Eh? So extra hotel rooms were booked, more dinners at night. The infrastructure company wanted to highlight its knowledge in a new way. The mayor, etc., etc. Everybody had different interests, and they somehow sort of didn't conflict, but they met in the middle. And that is the true sort of excellence, I think, or that's the true magic of a project like this, beyond the sort of mesmerizing effect. We did highways as well, which charge at daytime and glow at night. Yeah, we were listening to a lot of Daft Punk when we were Steve Reich, Philip Glass, Daft Punk. That's what we play when we design these kind of things in the studio. So it's very interesting to see the infrastructure as an interface of information, of expression, of innovation. So I'm saying we, because of course the notion of a designer or an artist as a sort of single genius sitting on an attic cutting off little pieces of his ear, oh, and life is bad and dramatic. I think, you know, that's not really true. It's teamwork. You know, we're all standing on the shoulders of the weird giants before us. And I feel a part of that. So this is our studio, which I founded 10 years ago, in Rotterdam, in Holland, the Dream Factory. So on the left, you have the team of designers, architects, engineers. On the right, in the top, you have project managers. One shapes material, other shapes process, and they work together to make the ideas come true. So it's a place where we experiment, where we learn, where we make prototypes, where we make a lot of mistakes. Guys, that's part of it. It's dirty, it's messy, but in the end, it always works. And we love science. I'm the son of a math teacher. So I think it's so important to create a place where you can experiment, where you can learn, like this design week is as well, where you don't claim to have the answer, but you move away from opinions towards proposal. In a way, we're sort of like a proposal machine. Like poof, poof. You know, like when you're playing alone in tennis, you have this sort of machines which generate the balls, you know what I mean? So that's us. So like, poof. And then hopefully somebody hits the ball back and you have a project. So we do publications. There's an upcoming book by Faden about all the projects with other authors, including Fumio Nanjo from Mori Art writing. There's a big solo exhibition coming up in a museum. First time we do something indoor. It scares the shit out of me. It's really interesting. So the whole exhibition is about presence, about the impact you have in the world around you, 1,000 square meters, more than welcome to visit. But what really drives us is this. Again, it's not about decorating, it's about reforming, as was mentioned in the panel discussion. So World Economic Forum, which is the think tank in Geneva, and I'm part of it as young global leader, they organize Davos, etc., did a research with a lot of smart people all around the world, asking what are the top 10 skills you and I need to become successful. Yes, so I'm giving you the shortcut here, hopefully. So look at this, 10 of them. Number 3, creativity. Number 2, critical thinking. Number 1, problem solving, complex problem solving. All the things a robot or a computer is like really bad at. Yes, and that's very interesting because yes, robots will come and take over a lot of jobs. Mobility, accountant, construction, it's already happening, guys, and it's not going to go away. But should we be scared or should we be curious? Is it George Orwell or is it Leonardo da Vinci? These are sort of scenarios we are in. And I believe that if we make the right decisions and the right investments, this will mean that our human skills, our desire to learn, why are we here today? Our desire to create, our desire for beauty, our desire for well-being, these are human skills a robot is like really bad at. So I think as technology dominates certain aspects of our life, it means that creativity and creative thinking is our true capital. And you will go like a museum, like here, like the great Nando Escher exhibition here, which is a really good example of dialogue between two artists. Not just because it's interesting and sort of intellectual, but it triggers parts of your brain, it trains parts of your brain that a computer cannot really do, yes? So I believe that creativity is our true capital, and I believe that this sort of over-technological world we live in will help and push that. Or we'll become robot food. That's plan B. I'm saying this in a way because thinking about Melbourne and Australia, you know, I've been meeting a lot of local designers and the panel members just as well, and there's a lot of we can, but we don't. You're sort of, and I feel that. I have the same sort of struggle. I'll share one mini ambition I would love to have here in Australia, planes. I fly a lot, guilty as charged. 115 years ago, the Wright brothers did the first manned flight. Like 115 years ago, that's not that long ago. You have already the solar planes coming up. They're already flying around. Okay, it's not perfect, it's not super big, but it's out there. I really think here in Australia, I really think here in Melbourne, we should design the first solar plane airport in the world, you know? We have the sun, it's silent, it's clean, it's tourism, it's innovation, it's commerce. You know, why are you not doing that? Why are we not doing that? I think it's not just technology, it's also about having a sort of ambition and a mission. So I think that's what we should do together, to design the first solar plane airport in the world right here. Yes, good. And if you need a designer for a terminal, you can call me, yeah, if you want to. Yeah, anyway. Humble suggestion. So why are we doing this? Well, because toxic city, question mark, the theme of today, the city has become a machine that kills us. There's no easier way of saying it. If you live next to a highway, it's the same as 17 cigarettes per day that you passively inhale. Yes? Without the pleasure of the nicotine. That's a bad deal right there. And so 5 years ago, being in China, being in Beijing, I was looking outside my window, and this is what I saw. Left is a good day, CCTV tower by Rem Koolhaas, OMA. On the right, left is a good day, right is a bad day. I literally couldn't even see the other side of the street. Pollution. A city so disgusting, I almost started to smoke again just to feel healthy. Like, no, really, like, And we laugh about it, but it's horrible. You live 8 to 9 years shorter. Children have lung cancer when they're 6 years old. Why do we accept this? And I realized, in a way, I became inspired by this, or irritated by it, or both. I don't really care. And I realized also, I'm not a minister. I cannot say 20 billion euro in green energy today. I don't have that capacity, and I can shout and complain all I want, but I will never get there in the coming years. So what can I do? I'm a designer, I'm an engineer. I can design my way out of it. What can I do? And I remember 2 days later under the shower at this sort of boring children parties when I was 5 years old, playing with these balloons, and I start to polish it, and it becomes static. Thank you. Static electrified. It's like, you know, it sort of plays with your hair. Yes. And I remember that really, I was like, holy shit, you know, that's like a gift from nature. It's a gift from planet Earth. It's like science. And that always sort of stuck with me through the many years. And again, my father was a science teacher, a math teacher, so I heard these stories over and over and over and over again. And so 2 days later, I was sitting and I was like, okay, but what if we would take that principle and literally build the largest smog vacuum cleaner in the world, which sucks up polluted air, cleans it and releases it. So at least we have clean air parks. This was made very naive. This was made with 2% battery life on my way home. I was an amateur in smog. I had no idea. So what I did is I put some smart people in a room with a pizza hotline in my studio and said, nobody leaves until we have a prototype. That sort of works. A lot of people saying it's not possible, it's not allowed, blah, blah, blah. We ignored them and we built the first one. So it sucks up 30,000 cubic meter per hour. This is 1 year later. Capturing the PM2.5, PM10, the ultra-fine particles, cleaning them, running on solar panel, and then releasing. So we have parks that are 20 to 70% more clean than the rest of the city. If the city has become a machine that kills us, let's build a machine that heals us. The Chinese started to call, how much, how much? That was a nice phone call. And it became part of their war on smog. So of course, long-term investments, electrical cars, green energy, as they are doing. But we shouldn't wait, you know? We shouldn't wait for permission. And we started to design these clean air parks all around the world. And we could prove that it would be 20 to 70% cleaner than the rest of the city. And the scientific research that we've done very extensively by Professor Blokke, who's one of the thermodynamic experts in the world, connected University of Eindhoven. But also other countries started to wake up. This is in Krakow, in Poland, one of the most polluted cities in the world. And what was happening, this is very funny. You see these little dogs there on the right? They look really happy, eh? So I arrived at the day of the opening. It's a true story. And Nick, my project manager, picked me up. And I'm like, so are we ready for a big opening? CNN, press, Reuters, etc. Everybody was there. I was like, yeah, it's good. Everything is working. We did the measurement. It all looks good. So I'm like, okay. So we went to the site, and we saw like tens of these little dogs hanging out there. And they looked really happy. You know, and it was like this weird David Lynch movie I walked into. It was like this secret meeting I wasn't invited for. So I asked my project manager, what are these dogs doing here? And Nick, my project manager, asked me, I don't know. You know, like, I'm like, well, we have like 3 or 4 hours. Let's find out. And so we did. And what we found out, of course, we know that dogs have a very high sense of smell. Yes? So they can smell, 200 times better than humans. And so they were suffering from the smog very intensively. And they, you know, they couldn't walk away, and they're very tiny, etc. So what happened is they could smell the clean air from far, far away. And they would start to abandon their owner and hanging out around the tower. And you know, I like this. This one, you know, this one is really happy. Yeah. This one tries to be happy, but it's too small. Yeah. So, and you know, if animals can sense what is good for them, why can humans not? But also what was interesting, how do we convince clients? What is the price of clean air? I don't know. We live in an economy where we don't know how to value the price of clean air. That's one of the biggest problems. That's why it's not growing exponential. We had a lot of clients interested. We had the scientific report. We spent months on it, a fucking fortune to make that happen. And everybody's like, yeah, okay, okay. And then they saw the photo of these dogs, and they were like, oh yeah, we love it. Okay, let's go, let's go, let's go. So also here, as a designer, things happen outside your control, and that's good. You have to look for it. You have to sort of, even though you're busy with a lot of other stuff, you have to be open and grab it and learn from it. That's so powerful. But also we learn. I mean, the problem with this project like this, and I just don't want to show you the blah blah and the beauty of it. There's also 80% bullshit to get through, to get 20% beauty. And then you're having like a good day. That's part of the package. And so we had a lot of mayors interested in this project all around the world. Delhi, Beijing, different cities in China, Poland, etc. But 2 years, 3 years ago, nobody wanted to invest. And so pushing it for 1 year and investing my own time and money, one morning we had a meeting, we had a crisis meeting because we ran out of money. And everybody was very hesitant. And I got a lot of pats on the back, as, oh yeah, that's a really good project, Mr. Roosegaarde, and but nobody wanted to invest. And it took us a couple of weeks with the help of the Dutch embassy to sort of figure out what was the problem. What we realized then is that all the mayors were interested in it, but indirectly they said, but if we support this project, if we help to finance it, in a way everybody knows that we are a polluted city. And we're like, dude, if you live downtown Delhi or Beijing, I think you more or less already know, eh? The citizens know. But they were very hesitant, so we were stuck. So we were on the point of canceling the project. Eh? There's only so much you can give. You have to have a ping pong with the world around you, otherwise, yeah, maybe it's not real. So while we were having this sort of crisis meeting with the managers, we had buckets of this stuff standing in our studio. This is Beijing smog. This is the stuff that we were sucking up from the urban sky. It's disgusting, eh? I have Beijing smog, I have Prague smog, I have Rotterdam smog. It always looks a bit different and tasted this different as well. Don't do it. But buckets of this stuff in our studio. And while we were having this crisis meeting, my studio manager came to me and asked, Daan, what should we do with it? Is it chemical waste or should we throw it away? I'm like, dude, please, I really, just can we have this conversation another time? And as we were having this sort of mini debate Monday morning, 8 a.m., one of the designers walked by and she said, Daan, why are you talking like that? You have always been saying waste should not exist. Eh? Waste for the one is food for the other. Think as a circle. Think like nature. And she was right. And so we zoomed out. We zoomed in too much, so we zoomed out. And we put this under a little microscope at the university, and we realized that 48% is carbon. And we all know, carbon under high pressure, you get diamonds. Oh, that's interesting. So we started to compress it for 30 minutes. And so by sharing a smog-free ring, you donate 1,000 cubic meters of clean air to the city where the tower is in. Oh yeah, here, I have one here. This is Rotterdam smog. Yeah, here, you can show it around. Yeah, yeah. Well, I won't propose, don't worry. Yeah. She said yes. Yeah, good. And this was very interesting because we put this online, a Kickstarter campaign, crowdfunding, and people started to pre-order it. But more interesting, they started to prepay it. So the finance we made with the jury helped to realize the first tower. So whoa, the waste wasn't the waste, it was the activator, it was the enabler. But what was even more interesting, because money is everywhere, community. Wedding couples started to purchase it to get married. Yeah, exactly. I had to say, like, what? Are they really, And so we called them to find out, and they said, yeah, this is for us hope. This is true beauty, not a blood diamond from Africa. True beauty is clean air, clean energy. And so we called them to validate, and she said yes to him. They're still married, by the way. I sometimes check in with them. Somehow I feel responsible for this marriage, which I am not. But so a New York Times sort of validated the story. And these are not actors, there's a whole bunch of them. Also here, it's so beautiful to sort of see the power of community. There's such a power if you trigger people in the right way, and they want to be part of the solution, not just part of the problem. Prince Charles has the cufflinks, and we put a little GPS in it. So I know where Prince Charles is. No, we didn't. Oh shit! Yeah. One day I will be in a world of trouble. Yeah. No, but so how do we create change? Big question. We need science, we need technology, it needs to work, but we also need imagination. We need to make it personal. It's so big, so let's make it really small. And I think if it's only tech, we get more lazy. If it's only symbol, it has no impact. Once you connect them together, then it becomes powerful. We do workshops with students all around the world, and new ideas pop up. So I'm Dutch, like Melbourne, a lot of bicycles. Bike sharing became very popular, so we're making now smog-free bicycles, which suck up polluted air, cleans it and releases. 1.1 million shareable bikes in Beijing region only. Step by step, upgrading the world around us. All these kind of projects, I hope I'm not sort of sharing that it's sort of easy, because it's not. One of my biggest struggles in the world of today is everybody say they want innovation, but there's this weird human tendency to reply every new idea, although they say they want something new, with 2 words. How much? Yeah, more annoying. That's a good one, but too much, no? When you present a new idea to your wife, your husband, your girlfriend, your boss, how do they start their reply usually? Yes, but. Thank you very much. Yes, but. It's too expensive, it's too cheap, it's too fast, it's too slow, it's too beautiful, it's too ugly. Cannot be done, it already exists. I've heard all the same criteria and arguments about the same project in the same week. And I got really annoyed by that. A bit gray hair, and one morning I woke up and I'm like, shit. I'm stuck, you know, it's dragging me down. It's sort of creating a barrier to do things. And so I realized I had to use that energy, I had to transform it. And we designed the famous yes, but chair. So this is a very famous chair by Friso Kramer, Dutch design, very original. But we gave it a little sort of upgrade. So we put a little voice recognition, a little microphone hidden underneath, right there. So the moment you sit on that chair, it sort of listens to what you say. And the moment you say those 2 really annoying, horrible words, you get a short but pretty intense little shock on the backside of your bottom. And yeah, that works. Yeah, so it's so funny. The Dutch ambassador in Berlin ordered Ja Aber version. The House of Parliament ordered 150 of them. And I mean, some clients left, they got really mad in our studio, but the good ones stayed. And it sort of set a standard. When you enter our studio, of course you can be critical. You don't have to agree all the time, please no. But what if we move from the yes but to the what now? What if we sort of let go what we're scared of and we are resistant? So this is our little friend in the studio to help us in that way. Okay. Last project, and then we have some time for a question, otherwise I'm just talking. So, yeah, space, future. Let's start with Kennedy. This is our most recent project that I'm spending my time and money on. We start with Kennedy, 1962. In 1962, Kennedy had to defend the journey to the moon. And the American public was not really convinced. They said, like, just build hospitals and schools, you know. And this sort of speech convinced a lot of people. Not because it's easy, but because it's hard. And it gave a lot of euphoria, and GPS and all our satellites, our communication is based on it. But 60 years later, we wake up, and somehow there's this. This is space waste, space junk. This is the 8.1 million kilo of debris floating currently around our Earth. So this is not a new Jackson Pollock undiscovered. So the center is our Earth, and this is all the junk around it. Yeah, exactly. Weird, eh? Somehow we're not satisfied ruining our planet Earth. We sort of, you know, keep on going outside the Earth atmosphere. And yeah, I'm laughing, but of course it's horrible. Started in 1957, launch of Sputnik, Apollo. Pieces of satellites and missiles started to collide and create this layer of junk around our Earth. And why should we care, you can wonder, right? Because it's like 220,000 kilometers away. Well, if a tiny particle hits an existing satellite, it's like a bomb, 27,000 kilometers per hour, boom. And so if you keep on doing that and you don't clean it up, it influences our communication. In the future, 5G, no more Melbourne Museum website, no more banking, no more Facebook, no more Instagram, no more social media, no more Instagram. It's like, there will be riots. And the weird part is nobody knows how to clean it. So we teamed up with ESA, the European Space Agency, in our mission for clean space. We have clean air, clean water, clean energy, let's go clean space. Visualizing and tracking 29,000 particles larger than 10 centimeters. Phase 1, showing it, visualizing. Phase 2, fixing it, teaming up with the experts to fix it. Phase 3, upcycling, giving it a new value. This is phase 1. Oh yeah, ESA is involved, where we real-time show the space waste above your head with these huge lines of light. $8,000 people at the opening of the Space Waste Lab, scanning, revealing, wondering. And inside we did an exhibition where we're showing a real piece of space waste that we got from one of the astronauts of the Hubble telescope, 1991. But also, we teamed up with these ESA, the space experts, and we asked ourselves a question. If we have 8.1 million kilo of Lego blocks, what can we do with it? It's a problem, but maybe it's also a potential. So we did workshops with more than 2,000 high school kids and teenagers, asking that questions. How can we transform? How can we upgrade? And these are the ideas that they were sending to us. This is in Dutch, but they say, collect space waste and push it in a black hole. Maybe yes, maybe no. Or here, we need to build a wall from space waste and make the aliens pay for it, make space clean again. No comment. Yeah, no comment. But others, what? Yeah. Hey, it's not my idea. Hey, what? But what was more interesting, some were really valuable, and they were validated with the experts. So NASA is going to print 3D on the moon. That's already on their agenda. So we're like, why don't we just capture the space junk and use it to 3D print habitats, houses on the moon? And why are we sort of shipping stuff from the Earth? Why not? Interesting. Or here, can we use it to create a huge solar reflector to block the sun, to reduce climate change, to fight climate change? Why not? Or here, can we sort of create sort of Pac-Mans, which absorb the space junk to protect the Earth, and maybe we can reuse it as sort of battery for the future? Or here, can we sort of harvest it, like a garbage truck, like a garbage rover, where we capture it, burn it, and then it generates plasma fuel for satellites which ran out of battery. But most viable solution that we're focusing on now is this beauty. This is a satellite, a microsatellite, a very tiny satellite which you can launch for not so much money. We're connecting a net to it. That is the most viable solution at the moment, the experts say. And so we can capture it. Okay, but also, nobody wants to pay for cleaning up. Cleaning up is boring. You know when you were a boy or girl and your mama says, clean up your room? And you're like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to eat popcorn and watch television. So we came to phase 3. Phase 1 is awareness. Phase 2 is fixing it. Phase 3 is upcycling it. We realized that if we attract it to the Earth in a controlled way, what happens? Burns. Thank you. It burns. And we're like, hey, wow, So waste is light. Can we use that to create artificial shooting stars, fireworks, as a replacement for the very polluting traditional fireworks? And it turned out, yes, we can. Netherlands is spending 70 million euro on fireworks New Year's Eve every year. Dubai, 8.1 million kilo. Melbourne, I Googled it, 7 million euro per year, $7 million. So what we're basically saying is, take that money, which you're already spending, and invest it in this. You clean up space, and at the same time, you have a new performance, a new value, step by step improving. And this is what we're launching in 3 years. We're pushing World Expo Dubai, or 2020, different Olympics. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how I would love to see the future. Poetic, practical, a little bit crazy, but at the same time, maybe that's the only way to move forward. All right, thank you. Yes. All right.